Well, it's another box office wrap up, and this is a big one. I know I kind of pre cooked this going into this Memorial Day weekend, but these numbers are going to break records, at least if you don't adjust for inflation. So let's talk about Mission Impossible 8 and Lilo and Stitch live action, because, well, everybody else is going to be. Here we go. Now, before we get started, let's make sure and double check we're still subscribed to the channel. Double check, look down there, make sure all the notifications are turned on by clicking on that bell icon. And let's go ahead and hit the thumbs up, because I know you're going to love this video. And hey, real quick box office update, never hurts on a holiday weekend. From Deadline, you've got Summerbound for $4.2 billion after record $322 million Memorial Day weekend. That's right, Lilo and Stitch are dancing to a $180 million holiday high. Mission Impossible 8, $77 million early Sunday box office update. And of course, we have one more day to go. It's that marvelous Monday that really will shape the weekend in a big way, because normally Monday is a really light day at the theaters, and since this is a holiday and most kids are out of school now, we should have some big numbers for Lilo and Stitch tomorrow, or rather today. Let's take a look what Anthony has to say by the early Sunday update, saying what we're seeing tonight doesn't come from Disney or Paramount, rather box office sources, but it appears that $180 million is within range for Disney's Lilo and Stitch after an estimated $47 million, which is 15% from Friday. Then if Lilo finally files in the high 170s, that's a big deal. It's an epic opening record for a Memorial Day Saturday's haul, a record for Memorial Day weekend, and it buries that of Top Gun Maverick's Saturday $38 million. Wow. And Pirates of the Caribbean's $37.7 million back when, well, I would say even now, that is way more money back then than it is now. So, in fact, that's why I would say we're really not beating a weekend high. But in modern dollars, technically we are. Rideback produced Lilo and Stitch after pitching the live-action remake to Disney. This was around the time that Rideback was in post-production on Aladdin, which it had also pitched to Disney as a live-action remake. It looks like they're 2 for 2 on their remakes, and I would probably listen to them rather than anybody else on what you choose to do with live action. Like, don't do Snow White or anything like that ever again. For Mission Impossible, the numbers were impressive, but not the moon. We were aiming for much higher than this. We weren't going to get there. For whatever reason, Paramount decided $400 million was something they should spend on a film with Tom Cruise in it and release it in a window where the big competition was going to be a 4-quadrant tentpole that was going to be impossible to beat. But Final Reckoning looks like a $20 million Saturday, down 19% from Friday, still on course for the $63 million 3-day and a $77 million 4-day, which possibly could stretch to $80 million. If that's the case, we are looking at some really good follow-up weekends, because it looks like Mission Impossible 8 will own the PLFs, the premium large formats, for another couple of weeks, and that should allow people to see it in the largest theater they possibly can, and usually that'll bring in some more dollars as well. This number will still best the 2018 version Fallout, which a lot of people really enjoyed, but I still don't see it as the biggest win possible. This film costs too much money and it's too long, so the turnover between showings is much longer than Lilo and Stitch, and it's going to have less opportunities to bring in the bank. Now, again, all these numbers are domestic. In other words, according to the article here, we haven't seen the full spectrum of the foreign release yet, which this film should do very good with. There's a lot of intrigue in it and an international cast of characters that are, well, broadly appealing. And I have a feeling that at the end of the day, the international numbers are going to save the day when it comes to Mission Impossible. Whether or not it actually breaks profitable is an entirely other conversation, but I'm leaning towards the not profitable side of the equation, because I don't see this movie going over $850 or $900 million, which would be about where it would need to be to put in that profit. All these numbers speak to something much larger, a big summer box office. Well, possibly. In fact, according to ComScore, they believe that we're going to see $4.2 billion for this summer. That's a big, big number, and I'm not sure where they're getting that from. Looking at last summer, it barely cracked 4.09 billion, and those numbers were stretched by some films that really did perform for a long period of time. This summer isn't going to have that same benefit. If anything, you're going to see some films overperform, but for the most part, I don't think a lot of the blockbusters they're counting on in July are really going to make the numbers they think they will. ComScore's senior analyst, Paul Daragarabedian, who is actually a regular over on Sci-Fi for Me TV when it comes to breaking down the box office, says that the summer movie season of 25 is going to be epic, and not just in terms of the box office revenue, which will likely wind up at more than $4 billion in domestic market, but also for what this incredible lineup of films will represent to audiences, movie theaters, movie studios, and how the next 4 months at the cinemas around the globe will shine a Klieg light on the essential nature of movie-going experience and in the highly competitive landscape of the entertainment sphere in 2025. I, of course, think he's being a little more generous than he needs to be, because we all know that some of these films are set to disappoint, like Fantastic Four: First Steps. But hey, we're going to live with several disappointments, it looks like, from the end of this spring going into summer when we look at the end of the day performance for Mission Impossible 8. But that's not all I want to talk about. There are several films we can look at, the top 5 specifically. We're going to take it over to the numbers. And we're not surprised, because out of the 4,400 theaters that it opened in, Lilo and Stitch is number one at $145.5 million as they see it right now. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, in 3,857 theaters is at $63 million at the time that they got their estimates. Of course, this isn't the entire weekend yet. And Final Destination: Bloodlines, not too bad for a film that is Tony Todd's last performance. The Thunderbolts are still hanging in there at theaters at a measly $10 million, or less, actually, $9.1 million, bringing their grand total at $171 million, and struggling internationally and globally to get to that $400 million mark, which means they still didn't break even. Wild. Sinners is still hanging in there at theaters at $8.7 million. I don't know how it does it, but keeps doing it. And The Last Rodeo, a film coming out from Angel Studios, which looks absolutely brilliant, making $5.2 million in its opening weekend. This is a impressive number for a film I bet many of you didn't even see. I'll be seeing that later this week, and I'll probably break down a review. And to show you how poor the box office is right now, a Minecraft movie is still in theaters at $2.2 million for this weekend, bringing the grand domestic total to a perfect $420 million. And, you know, some people over there are absolutely smiling. The Accountant rounds out number 9, and Hurry Up Tomorrow number 10, all of which are contributing to what will be a record Memorial Day weekend. And with that, we are out of here. Let me know your thoughts on the performance of the box office this weekend in the comments section down below. Let me know what movie you saw, and let me know what you think about it. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya for real.